I'd have to say that, in fact, to some extent, it is kind of interactive environment on the relationship with sound attention. Especially, I was a kind of person can avoid the noise in my life, so every time I need to concentrate on doing something, I need a relatively quiet or gentle sound environment. But after a while, I found that even if I just change to a physically quiet environment, my mind will automatically generate some songs to interfere with my attention based on my daily sound environment habits. So, like my attentions are very easy to be affected by different sorts of sound arrangements. And after thinking about myself, found that impacted the sound to me is actually orderly and hierarchical. Like, for example, they can be classified into modeling the sounds of object colliding and environmental sounds, and my attention will be disturbed by this kind of noises in the order of being affected a lot to being affected not that much. The process of change from people to objects to environments actually have something in common, like with the order in which humans perceive the world through sound. From mention when humans see the world through the sound in the days, to the transitional scripture issue and finally to the reading issue when the world's environments began to influence the sound in turn. The relationship between sound and objective attention attached to it, and has also gradually changed, like from the people to objects and then to environment. And correspondingly, the common point between these similar relationships between individuals and him is that relationship between the sound and attention will like produce changes of attachments, flexion, and reversals in turn. And this contradiction of the relationship between sound and attention fascinates me. And a code is conflicting state, 声景病, which you can understand is a kind of a soundscape syndrome, and I think it can be considered a gray area between acceptable white noise and unacceptable noise, just like logic in my naming it. It's a kind of a combination between a relatively appropriate textual name in the Chinese text context and a more humorous pronunciation expression in the Chinese context as well. I try to sample and use the software to simulate 15 typical sounds that exist in my mind when walking, including like 3 types: whispering, object colliding, and environmental sounds. And after collecting them, I found that they each have their own skill, a relatively objective skill that comes from the environment itself. Like the force trigger, the speed trigger, and position trigger. They are basic physical units that produce these sorts of sounds and are also the interactive mechanism are designed. And during the experience, you'll find a contradiction in the process. And the more you focus it, the greater the impact of the sound you produce, and whether you like it as rhythm or not. On the contrary, if you don't care so much about its appearance and don't want to use the device as a kind of a like controllable tool, your sound output will be relatively harmonious. So I think this kind of people's expression of the uncontrollable state will actually be close to the inner parts of the human instincts and consciousness. Um, you can regard this kind of installation as an abstract simulation of the sound environment in which I work, or as a kind of abstract presentation of the sound environment in my mind, because the structure of the installation has to a certain extent restored this repetitive change sequence from mumbling sounds to ambient sounds when filled sounds. For example, from the audio output of the mumbling sound to the audio output parts of the ambient sounds, the sound amplification, the construction of the acrylic will gradually separate from the whole into several parts, and the intensity of the sound amplification will gradually decrease, like the intensity of the sound interference to me.